irony of out west. So, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady MeeLing, Lady Dori Belle, Lady MeeLing America. I've been known by a few names. So, so it is known that I was in Washington State and I shouldn't have been. Realistically, because I actually fought to stay in the state of Texas. And when I say fought, whereas in certain minimal, especially in comparison with my biological parents, minimal comparatively to my now dead ex-husband, conversations to fight to join the Army for the United States of America's Armed Forces to get myself emancipated, I fought like 5 times as hard to stay in the state of Texas against my now dead ex-husband. I dealt with those discussions in certain times and conversations in others to stay in the state of Texas. I had told multiple people about that. Very few actually believed me, although, ironically, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., if he told the truth, would actually be able to say, no, she did. However, then there's the fact that I was at gyms on I-10 in Huebner with Francis when dealing with one of those discussions before a conversation in regards to, I want to stay in Texas. Like, I mean, like, I need to stay below the Mason-Dixon line, and where you're talking about is above the Mason-Dixon line. It doesn't matter which continent, still it is above the Mason-Dixon line. So, you know, just say. So, in that regard, I have also discussed, or at minimum written about, there was a point where, so Geek Squad knew about my issues with technology, weren't the only guys who knew about my issues with technology, but they had like my technology, computer, laptop stuff to know my issues with technology very easily, by a lot. I never got one laptop back. And so, same thing with Best Buy, because Best Buy has the Geek Squad guys. And so in Washington State, when living there, I had to turn in another laptop. And I had only had that laptop for like, I think like maybe a month. And I got zapped and tripped because of what I had on the patio in my way, and then like tripped again when like, and I had something to drink on top of that at like while just trying to carry the laptop out, and then it's like, oh, and then like, because I'm me, I didn't remember to put, like as you can see with my hand and the e-cigarette, didn't remember to put the power aid down. I know that sounds dumb, I can make fun of myself. But yeah, while trying to, you can use this as an example while making fun of me, because I can make fun of myself. While trying to turn the laptop over to pour out the Powerade that I had accidentally spilled onto the laptop because I tripped and fell, I poured more Powerade because I needed to put the Powerade down. And I didn't think about that because I was trying not to trip and fall some more, and was being zapped at the exact same time. So I could not, yeah, because I was holding the laptop, and the laptop had a metallic finish. Yeah, you see the math just being like, okay, so 1 + 1 is 2, and, oh, and then there was like even this metal, like actual metal um, border on top of the metallic paint, on top of the techie zapping, just from being above the Mason-Dixon line. Yeah. I did everything I could to and then I couldn't because I couldn't think properly because I was being zapped that much. Don't be jealous. No reason to be jealous at all. So yeah, you can see, yeah, no, not the smartest, obviously, nonetheless. I was trying to turn the laptop over to dump out the Powerade. But I was too dumb because of being electrocuted the whole time to put the Powerade down like that, and then turn the laptop over. Yeah, I did that. But again, I was being zapped and a lot of pain and all that stuff. Now, now there was a point on top of which, so, got these two dogs. Because of living in an apartment, they were much smaller than I am accustomed to. Okay, so I've gone over my first dog as far as before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. That was a half collie, half husky. It was like 80 pounds. It was a big dog. Those who have, seen half collies or even just collies or huskies or half husky, yeah, they're big dogs. And then, at some point in time, while having got a full-bred husky. Okay, so those were pre-head injury, the type of dogs that I had been around. Now, my now dead ex-husband had 2 miniature schnauzers. I tolerated them. I wanted the Malamute. There was a Malamute in there. Oh, he was so pretty. He's so fluffy. He was so fluffy. After having Methuselah and all that. And so, but, a Malamute in San Antonio, Texas, with the heat. You little puppy dog. I need a pool for you to cool off in the backyard in. And at that time, I was in an apartment, so I was like, yeah, probably not the best thing. Probably not the best thing to do that. So, I got convinced into getting miniature schnauzers. Which they were cool. They were cool. They're very distinctive personalities. They're very smart. Nonetheless, I couldn't pet them or play with them the way I can play with dogs. And so, my first dog after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 and all that was in my house in San Antonio. And that was the Akita Black Lab Chow mix that I named Dionysus. And my now dead ex-husband killed that being said. Yeah, with a 22. 22, had to shoot the dog a couple of times because, it's at point blank range. You'd think that he'd actually known it, but nonetheless, because, my dog defended me. And so, imagine that. And Mike, my biological father, watched as that occurred in the backyard. And Anna, my biological mother, was in the house, sitting at the dining table like, do, no big deal. It's like, yeah, that's my dog that he's killing because of the fact that he defended me. Anna's response was, well, that's what your dog gets for defending you. That dog also kept my son and my daughter safe, by the way. Oh, well, They came from you. Okay. So after that, I had 2 Great Danes. Ganesh, my baby, and he really was. He was a big baby. He really, truthfully, was a baby. I mean, he was afraid of flutterbys and sparrows. Would curl up in the fetal position. A little flutterby came in the yard. His tail would tap his chest like, oh, you're like 200 pounds. Why are you such a little bitch? And then there was Freya, who I think was a little bit of like 3/4 Great Dane and then like 1/4 something else. But nonetheless, both of them. So Freya was like 175 and Ganesh was 200. And when I walked them in the neighborhood, they were right here and here. If I stopped walking, they stopped. They extremely well trained. They knew who was in charge. Absolutely. I realize now how much of a what that must have been for some of my neighbors. Nonetheless, they knew that right here and here. Don't you sit. I'm talking to Miss Caroline. You better shut your mouth. Yes, Mom. Okay. Nonetheless, so those, my dog experiences and stuff. Now that doesn't include like friends' dogs and stuff like that I would play with. And so like I had a friend I had a few friends pre-head injury that all had big dogs that were like 50 pounds and up. I don't really know anybody in New Jersey that had little dogs. I mean, my babysitter, Sunny, she had these little itty bitty white fluffy things that I don't know what they were, but I hung out with the Weimaraner Duke. Like, and those who know Weimaranders, unless they're taught at a young age, they're not really people dogs. They're like one owner dogs, and I could play with Duke in front of his owner, and he would, we'd play. He actually attacked Mike because Mike went to go pop me, and Duke went and bit Mike for going to pop me, and Anna refused to come in the backyard if Duke was out. Because just her being anywhere near me with Duke, she knew Duke would mess her up. Now, if Anna was with my biological sister, he would tolerate Patricia being with Anna, but he'd still stay right at my side. And it didn't matter if Joe or Jose was home. If I was, which for those who understand dogs, Duke was at my side, and Joe or Jose was technically his owner, and so right there. Yeah. So, and then like I had a friend who had, and there is a point for all this. I'm gonna get to it. So, I had a friend who had Rottweilers. I had another friend who had Doberman Pinschers. I had another, yeah. I had a friend who had like German Shepherds and stuff like that, multiple German Shepherds. And, when I'd come over, right there, hey, who's a good little puppy dog? You're paying attention to me, is your little puppy dog? Now, mind you, by technicalities, I should say, it was a little puppy dog because, I was younger. Nonetheless, at my side. Yeah, right there. And so, in Illinois, I had a few friends and associates who had full-bred Huskies. Let me show you how to show who's in charge. And then I'd go over the house, right there, did you good little puppy dog? When I went to Kenny's house, he had a half wolf, half Malamute. Oh, no, who's a good puppy dog? No, he's such a big... Right there, who's a good little puppy dog? Yes, you're such a good little puppy dog. That's like a really, why did you do puppy dog? So, not really used to little dogs, like at all. Little ankle biters. I mean, not literally. That's just my thoughts. I can't be the only person who has had those thoughts, especially when the little dogs get underneath your feet and just punch you. Used to play football, that doesn't help you. Just saying. And as a side note, Anna's favorite dog was a Peekapoo, Pekingese miniature poodle mix. We didn't get along. No, did not get along with that dog at all. No. It attacked my children, and I threatened to, you know, cook it. Though it technically wasn't a threat, it was a promise if she didn't keep that dog away from my son and my daughter. Because that dog made my children's feet bleed. So, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna make doggy roast. Yeah, I was. And then she finally listened. Defending my children. I mean, my son was just over a year. My daughter was 3 months old doing tummy time. Don't give me this garbage. My children attacked her dog. Just saying. No, that's garbage. That was her defense, was that my children antagonized her dog on the other side of the house. I'll make some dinner. Just saying. I didn't, obviously, though that was real. If my biological father didn't step in the middle between that, yeah, I mean, I was already on the way out the door, like I had packed everything, and then, you know, again, why would they move to San Antonio? It wasn't to actually, yeah, that was a big old lie. Anna specifically, and Patricia, my biological mother and my biological sister, said, absolutely, as much smack as they talked when in Illinois about me joining the Army before I actually left for basic training. Please do not give that garbage excuse, because that was not the real, like, reason why. It's because of what Patricia did to her own reputation. All by herself. Nonetheless. So, among a few other things. And so, just throwing that out there. Washington State is like, okay, I got my son, he had a turtle named Myrtle the Turtle. and then he went on a vacation trip, and I was like, I cannot take care of your turtle. And he's like, why not? And I'm like, because I will do something wrong, and I will feel horrible if I wind up, like, killing it. And not on purpose, by accident. And I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. And so he was just like, okay, so found a foster thing that could, have Myrtle, the turtle. But, still got, like, puppy dogs, because still, like, that sort of thing. And so went and got Minnie, because I figured my son would like, a dog at the same time of having the turtle, and, that whole thing. And, and then there was Harley. Harley was a blue heeler and Australian Shepherd mix. I got her because of the location that she was in, and my son really needed a dog. And I was like, and Harley's not fat. She's like 90 pounds. No, James. She fat. That's not muscle. That's fat. She doesn't need to eat that. Like, Now, granted, where she came from, she was freaking out because of the stuff that was going on there. And so he actually got to meet the people that were going to take her to an actual farm and actually have her run and like do shepherding type stuff. And so, you know, it wasn't like when growing up some people that I knew heard of like, oh yeah, the dog went to a farm. No, 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 he actually got to meet the people. He actually got to meet them and like, look, as much as I'd like to bring Harley with us, can't because of, and so, because of the trip. Now, like even if going to, like the original plan was to go to Florida, but even still that's a long drive, obviously. From San Antonio, it was 14 hours from Dallas area, just to Georgia. Yeah, yeah. So, that, and so no, she actually did go to an actual, like, ranch setup farm type thing, like, she actually did, and so, you know, I cannot lie, and, you know, nonetheless, tried to, because of being in the apartment in Vancouver, Washington. By the way, I saw this awesome video of a guy who, like, thought a bunch of stuff and then had his eyes opened up and realized that people, that, as well as the current President of the United States of America, but the people who support Trump aren't necessarily, like, in the category of the way they have been labeled, which was pretty awesome. But nonetheless, in Vancouver, Washington, because of the apartment being on the second floor, you know, it was one of those, I know that my son is a teenager, and he already has the teenager attitude. Anybody hear a teenager stomp their feet, or, you know, yeah, so that's okay, smaller dogs, I'll deal with that, and so my now ex-boyfriend and I went to the ASPCA and found Minnie, which was a miniature dachshund, and then found Max, which was another miniature dachshund. And ironically, his front paws were shorter than his back paws, kind of like a car. Nonetheless, the irony of ironies. So, getting back around to that technology issue. Well, when Max would be taken on a walk with Minnie, yip, 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 like that. Yeah. And so, we were already receiving complaints by that point because of the two miniature dachshunds playing. You know, like, my son wouldn't even be home at that point. It was just the two miniature dachshunds playing, and because of the two miniature dachshunds playing, the people in the apartment beneath mine, as well as, you know, my son and my now ex-boyfriend, complained because of two miniature dachshunds who were playing. Each one of them, I don't think they even weighed like 20 pounds by that point. Each one of them was just under 20 pounds, but there were complaints because of the miniature dachshunds playing. Yeah. So, my now ex-boyfriend, and here is an irony, then my boyfriend says, you know, should get a zapping collar. What's a zapping collar? And so I looked it up online, and it's one of those, like, it zaps when the dog goes to bark. And, whatchamacallit, so I thought it was a bad idea. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. Why? Because that seems mean. Like, a dog is supposed to bark, and, well, the people are complaining and blah, blah. Yeah, but they're dogs. There are, like, bigger dogs in the apartment complex than the miniature schnauzers, or miniature dachsies. Same size, realistically. Like, in certain ways. I know that there are some people that are really into Wiener Dogs, okay? Yeah. Just like weight class. Um, just saying. Within reason, I know. But nonetheless, you know, there were, and Max would get jealous. Max would get so jealous because, you know, there'd be, like, there was one guy, he was walking a black lab and like, oh, who's your puppy dog? Like, that's what I'm accustomed to playing with. Max just whined and cried and had to be held because I was playing with another dog that I actually wanted to play with. And in comparison, especially, not that I didn't like Max. Max had 2 gay paws. He had 2 gay paws. Like, and I call them that because they were so, like, dainty, and I had verified this with some people that I found out, like, because they were like, yeah, they're part of the, specifically part of the LGBTQ community, like, okay, what do you think of this? And when Max wanted my attention, I don't see many straight males that do that. That are like, what's your attention? Like, I'm the equivalent of what that dog was doing with either paw. And then when when looking at him, and I got him a rainbow collar, and he was so proud to wear that collar. Like, I had tried other collars on him, and he was just tried getting him a leather collar. Put that rainbow collar, and it had some glitter on it. Walked around like, yes, yes. And it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And he would be right by me going, yeah, that's right, And so Minnie, she was very butch, very, very, very butch, and I had found a leather kind of biker vest for a harness, and she would tolerate my now ex-boyfriend putting that on her. She just kind of like, whatever. I put that on her, that's right. That's right, that's right. And then when Max would go to play with her, whatever. Hi. And I actually got a cone that was a flower for Max, and he just, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he liked his little pink bow tie. He didn't like any of the other bow ties at all. He had just the pink bow tie. Only the pink one. He didn't care about any of the other colors. Don't tell me that dogs are colorblind. Max knew. He did not like the red bow tie. He did not like the blue bow tie. He did not like the green bow tie. You put that pink bow tie on him, that's what he would do. And I was like, yeah, hi. So, yeah, and I know he was gay. I know he was gay because he tried to hump Minnie one time, and he didn't even try to hump her the way a dog would. He did it at a rib cage. It's like, that's not how that goes. that's not how that goes. And really quickly before I get to my point, so I'm very much dominant sadist. I don't deny that at all. And so it was when we got Max, it was one of those, okay, I know I'm gonna have to get you neutered. I know it, spayed, whatever it's called. And so right when I noticed the that, it was like, okay, let me call the vet, call him up, and the vet, so he started off with one gay paw, okay, so then call up the vet, and the vet, I'm like, yeah, so when can he be, taken care of in that regard, and they said they had any available opening from the next day all the way to Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day it is. You jumped a little quick. I will remember Valentine's Day. I'm not going to explain to you that I'm a dominant sadist, but that is, yeah, that's like the epitome of like, that's right, and it's still ethical because, you know, just saying, it's still ethical because no little puppies to worry about. Just saying. So yes, I jumped on that appointment, pun intended. And so yes, the the presents that I joked about, because they were truthful. Minnie got the present for Valentine's Day of not being annoyed by Max. My furniture got the present of him not peeing on it, because those who know, the male dogs go through that. And then Max got the present of a comb. And then he had 2 gay paws. And it went from this to, and yes, he did. At first it was just the 1 gay paw. After he got neutered, it was both. It was like, okay. I mean, even when you would get on his hind legs, really? Okay. Yeah. Don't tell me all dogs are straight. Just throwing that out there. It's the gayest dog I have ever seen. Ever. It's ever. Like, I've seen some gay dogs. That was the gayest dog ever. Just so gay. Nothing wrong with that. Just so gay. Gayest dog ever. Yes, So anyway, after getting that collar, I'm already having had the situations with Geek Squad saying, number one, we can't, because you've broken so many. From like 2006 to that time in 2013, or when going in, you've broken 13 laptops. We have, yeah, you could buy a laptop, you cannot get the accidental warranty, because why? And so I had explained the head injury thing, and the guy was like, oh, well, I moved here from India, and I'm in this PhD, no. You don't need to go any further, at all. Do not need to go any further. I will not be a part of your research thing. No, you should really consider it. No. I'm not interested. At all. Whatsoever. And at that point in time, a bunch of the tech stuff, like the alarms that are on certain things, they just started going off in the store. And my headache turned into a migraine instantly. And my now ex-boyfriend looked at my son and he's like, get your mom out of here. Because obviously there's issues. At that time, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. was going to ITT Tech, by the way, in Portland, Oregon. And then later, after the issues at Crystal Apartment Complex, it went and transferred to the Seattle location. That was ironically not far from the place I would volunteer at. So there's a little ironic aspect there. And it took him like half an hour before he got out to the car to leave. And so I'll leave that for law enforcement to figure out on that one. I'm sure that that's probably been figured out by now. Nonetheless, that whole thing. So, looking at the electronic dog collar thing, I was like, I don't think that's a good idea, because that's what it was explained to me as. It's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. So, walking Max and Minnie, walking past the female, from the apartment beneath mine. I was in 42D as in Delta. She was in 41D as in Delta, I think was the number. Nonetheless, walking past, Max started to bark, and then I was holding the leash. And it was a leather leash, so it should have technically been grounded by technicalities. The thing, whatever, went off on Max, and, you know, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. was like, oh, I'll get it off. No, Max bit out of him. Bit him to the point where he was bleeding, and it's like, alright, gotta do it, because I had to, because it was obviously hurting the dog, and I was like, okay, Max, like, I know, and so I had to hold his face to one side while being electrocuted, obviously, just walking around, not including what was going on the closer I got to that. And so I felt the surges, of course, because anybody who's ever touched anybody that's been zapped knows what that feels like. And so I had to not snap his neck, self-control, and then pop the collar off somehow, which again, metal, because of the buckle, and got that off, and while holding my dog as well as the electric thing, it's like, all right, somebody take this from me, because it hurts, like, a lot. And so just, I wound up throwing it on the ground, and then picking up Max to calm him down, and, so yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, Pam actually had run over, and she's like, is everything okay? I'm like, it's the collar thing. My now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., starts ironically barking at her. It's like, stop! She was just checking on the dog. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But dealing with that and calming Max down, and so then having to go back inside. And so, yeah. In that regard of, like, all sorts of issues, since there was probably some camera somewhere in one of the fixtures somewhere in that apartment complex. Aside from the front office, where the tanning booths were. So, you know, there's a really good example for issues that I have with technology. A few. And I was just holding the leash when walking Max. I didn't even have to touch the collar to have that issue. So, you know, I had to learn really quickly how to do certain things with electricity because of the situation. And so, you know, I kind of figured I should probably make a video in reference to that, because maybe somebody will, you know, need that or whatever. So, yeah, there you go as far as my issues with technology in a very brief manner, comparatively. So I don't appreciate being targeted on more than I already apparently had been, and I didn't need anything extra to go off. So, you know, as far as like all the tech companies, you know, that are above the Mason-Dixon line, I apologize because, you know, I obviously didn't know. However, I mean, I knew certain things in regards to like my issues. So I apologize in reference to, like, I did what I could to make it not so bad everywhere else. And not just above the Mason-Dixon line, of course, but obviously above the Mason-Dixon line probably would have affected the quickest in that regard. And so, you know, I did what I could as best as I could. So, you know, that being said, you guys have a good one. Share and subscribe my official videos. For YouTube, on my channel, Reverend MeeLing. Go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com.